Negative feedback maintains a range and brings back to the target set point, where positive feedback amplifies responses away from the set point. So when we think about negative feedback, we have our target set point. The thing is, homeostasis doesn't mean nothing is changing. It's just maintaining this acceptable range around the set point. So as something goes up, like a chemical goes up, it's going to go up. And as it goes out of the range, you're going to have negative feedback mechanisms that kick in that bring that back towards the set point. So as we go, it starts bringing down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. When it gets outside of the range on the low end, then you're going to have negative feedback mechanisms that are going to bring it back up. And again, this continues and we then bring it back down. So negative feedback is about maintaining a range around the set point. So we can look at various examples here. Right now we're looking at blood calcium levels, calcium ion levels. So when it's high, we're going to have the thyroid gland secrete calcitonin, and calcitonin is going to cause bones to take up calcium ions from the blood, and that will bring our blood calcium ion down. So as it's going down, eventually it might get too low, so then we're going to have other negative feedback mechanisms kicking in to bring it back up. So in this case, when the blood calcium level gets low, the parathyroid glands are going to release parathyroid hormone, and that parathyroid hormone is going to cause bones to release calcium ions, the kidneys to reabsorb calcium ions, and the intestines to absorb more from what you are eating through your digestive tract. All of that will cause your blood calcium ions to go back up. But then if it gets too high, then we're going to start secreting calcitonin. When it gets too low, we're going to release parathyroid hormone. And you're going to continuously have this cycle of trying to keep it close to a set point. Other examples, we can look at blood pressure. So when it gets too high, what's going to happen is your heart is going to release ANH, and ANH is going to cause your kidneys to excrete sodium ions and water from your urine. That's going to bring your blood pressure down. If you get rid of water out of your body, you're going to have less blood volume and your blood pressure is going to go down. If your blood pressure goes down, your kidneys secrete renin. Renin interacts and we have angiotensin 1 and 2. Your adrenal cortex is going to secrete aldosterone. Aldosterone is going to go to your kidneys and tell your kidneys to reabsorb sodium ions and water. So then instead of peeing out that water, you're going to retain more water, you're going to have more blood volume, and your blood pressure is going to rise. So again, we're trying to maintain this set point, and a lot of times that is happening through hormones. Classic example here, when your blood sugar gets too high, your body releases insulin, and insulin is going to take the glucose out of your blood. And insulin is going to tell your liver to store glucose. It's going to tell your muscles to store glucose. And again, they're going to turn it into glycogen to store it, but it's also going to tell your fat to take in the glucose and form fat. So then all of these things, taking the insulin, telling these tissues to take glucose out of your blood, is going to cause your blood sugar to go down. If you haven't eaten in a while, your body is going to bring your blood sugar back up towards a set point, which is going to cause glucagon to be released from your pancreas, which then goes and tells your liver to break down glycogen, tells your fat tissue, your adipose tissue, to break down fat. And as it breaks this down, your blood sugar is going to go up. As your blood sugar goes back up, we are maintaining the range. And all of this is negative feedback. Positive feedback, on the other hand, you have a stimulus which is going to cause a response. but that response is going to reinforce the stimulus. So ultimately, we amplify the response. One example of that is with apples. So an apple on a tree ripens, it's going to produce ethylene. Ethylene is going to signal the neighbors to ripen. All of these apples then are producing more ethylene, which is going to cause more apples to ripen. All these ripened apples are going to secrete more ethylene. And we have this loop where the response amplifies the stimulus. And we keep on looping and looping and looping until everything is ripe. Another example would be lactation in mammals. So your brain sends a response up in your hypothalamus to create oxytocin. Oxytocin leaves your posterior pituitary, and it will affect the mammary glands to produce milk and to let it down. Now, as a calf stimulates the mammary gland, it's going to send the message back up to your brain to release more oxytocin. And that oxytocin is going to cause more milk production, more milk letdown. As the calf stimulates the mammary gland, it's going to send the message back up to the brain to release more oxytocin, which is going to make more milk and more milk letdown. And we just have this loop where we are amplifying the response. Our last example here, we have a baby, and its head is going to push against the cervix. That's going to send a message up to the brain of the mother to release oxytocin. And in this case, oxytocin is going to stimulate the muscles in the uterus to contract. And the muscles in the uterus contracting is going to push the baby towards the cervix. And when the cervix has that pressure, it's going to send the message back up to the brain, which then releases more oxytocin, which causes more contractions, which sends the message up to the brain to release more oxytocin, which causes more contractions, which causes more pressure. And we just amplify this loop. So negative feedback maintains a range around and back to target set points, where positive feedback amplifies responses away from set points.